This afternoon, Ghana's agricultural sector remains resolute to COVID-19 shocks as they respond faster to key interventions than other sectors in the economy. We'll hear from the government statistician on this matter.
Was relatively resolute to the pandemic in terms of its impact relative to the other sectors, i.e., if you look at the impact on the industry and the services sector, they were more impacting relative to the agriculture sector. What we are seeing from the agribusiness here is the numbers that we want to put on the impact. That is why we are looking at the pre-COVID-19 performance during the lockdown and the post-lockdown.
Also flying amid the pandemic, KLM country manager speaks on waivers, cost of travel and vaccines. We have details on that. Plus, 2 months on since the introduction of the No ID, No Momo directive as part of plans to reduce fraud associated with mobile money transactions. We hit the streets to engage some vendors on the impact so far on their businesses. Hello once again, you're welcome to the program. I'm Charles Aite. We have details after this short break this day. To our first story, results from the agribusiness tracker conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service as well as the United Nations Department Program indicates that although all sectors of the economy have been affected by COVID-19, the agri sector remains resolute. According to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna-Eneng, the survey reveals that about 33,000 agribusiness were closed down during the lockdown periods to control the spread of the pandemic. He's been explaining to Joy Business what exactly this means.
I would start by indicating that agribusinesses trans all the three sectors. Agribusinesses, you find it in agriculture, you find it in services, and you find it in industry sector. So one would have to be very careful comparing agribusinesses with the industry and the services sector because it cuts across the three sectors. But if you're looking at agricultural on its own relative to the other two sectors, as we've indicated in our GDP releases and in the earlier trackers, the agricultural sector was relatively resolute to the pandemic in terms of its impact relative to the other sectors, i.e., if you look at the impact on the industry and the services sector, they were more impacting relative to the agriculture sector. What we are seeing from the agribusiness here is the numbers that we want to put on the impact. That is why we are looking at the pre-COVID-19 performance during the lockdown and the post-lockdown. And I think the headline story is that if we go into our register of businesses, based on the 2015 register that we compiled, we had 12,538 of agribusinesses that had closed down over the period September 2019 to March 2019. So this was pre-COVID-19. During the COVID-19 period, obviously, these numbers shot up to 28,916, and this was expected because of the lockdown period that we're in. And now the question is, following the post-lockdown period, what are we seeing? And we are now seeing 16,091 agribusinesses that are locked down. So if you compare the 16,091 agribusinesses that are currently locked down with the 12,000 that were locked down during the pre-COVID-19 period, then clearly we are talking about approximately 4,000 agribusinesses that have not recovered. But again, if you look at it relative to the other sectors, we see a lot more agribusinesses responding to recovery interventions relative to the industry and the services sector that are not into agribusiness.
Anthony Morrison is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, and he joins us via Zoom. Anthony, we're so grateful that he joined us. The agri sector remains resolute to COVID-19 shocks. That's according to the government statistician. What exactly is your response to this, especially when it is quite obvious COVID-19 really proved the fact that not just Ghana, but the entire Africa was the breadbasket of the world?
Yes, thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to your viewers. Luckily for the Chamber of Agribusiness, we did some survey. We call it the COVID-19 survey report during the lockdown to ascertain the severity of the pandemic on agribusinesses in Ghana. And from most of the reports that we picked up, the value chain is quite big. And we're looking at providing leave with pay for employees, subsidizing staff health insurance. All these were part of the elements that we looked at in arriving why most agribusinesses cannot sustain themselves within the value chain during the lockdown and the pandemic severity times. Now, in agribusiness itself, is quite a more elaborate sector. So what are we talking about? It would be good for the government statistician to let us know which of the agribusiness value chain that these breakdowns are coming from. We do know over 120,000 agribusinesses that came within the streamline. Over 60,000 of them have not been able to resurrect their businesses, and this lies in the areas of SMEs.
Great. Well, so we could understand. Yeah, go on.
Who are not able to, who are not even registered, and who do not also have their business regularized with any of the government institutions. And even though National Board for Small Scale Industries provided some support, that wasn't seen. I'll give you some few examples. We've seen sharply the increase of the cost of eggs on the market. It used to be 90 pesos. Now we're selling at 1 cedi, 20 pesos at retail. We have seen how prices of maize have jumped up. It used to be 64. Now we're buying maize at 50 kg at 120 cedis. So this has affected the poultry value chain, and we're talking about aquaculture and the likes. And this has also affected the likes of Indomie sellers, those who sell tea, and those who use eggs to do salad and many other things.
Well, so Anthony, even as you pinpoint the hike in most of these prices, which indeed is across board, looking at specific data from Isoko Ghana, I mean, and if you contrast this to what the Agri Minister keep telling us, that there is food in abundance, can we therefore, attach this analysis that is it a matter of demand and supply, or there is a hiccup in the supply chain?
Well, there is a hiccup in the supply chain, certainly. Currently, most countries are looking at food security, and therefore they are looking at how to protect what they have. European Union, at the verge of the pandemic, banned any exports of food out of Europe. We've seen measures that were taken by Brazil in capping the quantity of maize or corn that is exported out of Brazil. And we continue to see world market prices of maize, soya, and rice, keep rising. Now, in Ghana, our situation is such that we import over 70% of seed that we use in the industry, especially for vegetables. And also, when it comes to fertilizers, we virtually import over 90%, and other agro inputs. So certainly, we're going to see a very sharp rise in the prices. However, what we should be mindful of the fact that if we continue to hinge an industry based on foreign support systems, we will get to a point where we will begin to have very serious challenges in the industry. Food security is critical. We just worked on the National Food Storage Policy, but as to what it takes to establish such a facility is another thing. Looking at funding ourselves out of the industry, out of the pandemic, we need to look at how we can make enough budgetary allocation towards developing some externalities. There are a lot of corporate companies who are interested to invest into agriculture, but do we have land? Do we have enough agricultural land banks that are well defined and protected for investment purposes? And there are so many of these challenges that are in the industry that we need to be looking at.
Great, but you know, one other telling part of this research is the fact that 33,000 agribusinesses closed down due to the pandemic. How endemic is the matter, sitting from your own perspective?
Yes, it was. We strongly believe from the Chamber's perspective that the numbers are quite even more higher than that, because if you look at the value chain, it's only few of the agribusiness players are able to regularize their businesses. So to even arrive at 33, I think that could probably be about 30% of the agribusinesses that have closed down.
But you know, Anthony, it beats my imagination, because we're having the Plenty for Food and Jobs program, we're having the Ghana Commodity Exchange, which forms as a basis for commodity pricing and even helping farmers at the farm gates. We're having several value chain of programs that government has implemented to ensure a smooth run of agribusiness in the country. So, what exactly is going wrong? If you could help me in just a minute or two.
Well, you need a harmonization of all these government interventions, a coordinated policy that will streamline the various activities. For instance, if a government is investing into cereals and grains, you need to look at its rippling effect on the other sectors of the value chain, i.e. the livestock and the aquaculture and poultry, and how that can also support industries, i.e. pharmaceutical and the alcoholic or the beverage industry. So it's a value chain approach. If we invest in one sector and you are not providing the externalities of support for the other sectors, you may not be helping the industry. And growth is such that, development stages is such that you look at agri, you look at services, and you look at industries. That is how development works. And if you hinge development only on productivity and not looking at what the market opportunities are, and also the value addition and all the other externalities of it, then you may not be doing your interventions critically. And let me also say that the fact that PFJ only concentrated keenly on the smaller holder farmers was also another factor in developing or in enhancing the project viability within the other sectors, which is services and also the industries.
All right.
However, let me assert that in all this, there is a need to look at how we are able to bring about some support mechanisms,
all right,
not only for some sectors, but the rippling effect must also be considered for the other sectors of the economy.
Exactly. So
like the horticulture,
it boils down to your argument that most of these programs would have to be harmonized.
Had a lot of losses as well.
Great. So it boils down to your argument that all these programs must be harmonized to ensure a successive turn of agribusiness in this country. Anthony Morrison, we're so grateful that you joined us. He's the head of the Agribusiness Chamber in Ghana. Well, we turn our attention to the aviation sector because it has been a year, actually, since government's assurance of reducing rent charges at the airports for airlines to be cushioned against the dip in passenger traffic due to COVID-19. Yet, some airlines say that these rebates were never actualized. Let's play back an interview I granted the country manager of KLM Dutch Airlines, Dick van Nieuwenzen, who has been speaking to me on the state of aviation in Ghana amid the pandemic. To find out from you the interventionary reforms that the former aviation ministry came up with. Are you feeling most of these interventions? They talked about free rentage places at the Terminal 3. They talked about specific landing, waivers. What exactly have these interventions done for you?
The interventions he offered was during the Corona period when there was a ban on travel. So the impact of all those interventions, this office is rented from the airport. Nobody has contacted me and told me that I have to pay less rent. Yeah, if you have interventions where you say, I give you a reduction on handling and landing fees and whatever, it's nice, but then you should be able to operate. And it all happened in the days that the airport was closed. So there were not too many interventions. and airlines had to figure it out themselves.
Speaking of figuring out, finally, shortly, how are you going to figure things out in the midst of all these uncertainties?
I think it is a matter of having patience. We have rescheduled our organization. Our schedules are adjusted to present times. And let's wait till we have proven matters to ban COVID. You cannot do more as what we're doing now. We have a double testing for passengers going to Amsterdam or going via Amsterdam. So it is safe on board with a double test, a double lock on the door. And we try to help the passenger as much as possible. At the moment he wants to change his flight because he feels uncertain. He doesn't have to pay any penalties, any extra cost. If he wants to cancel his ticket, it can be done free of charge. The problem is KLM is the only carrier at this moment who's requiring the extra testing. I expect that others will follow soon, but at this moment KLM is the only one, which you can translate in two phases. We are the only one with a double test, so traveling on board KLM is safe because you have a double test. At the other side, it is extra cost.
Is it that you don't trust the system here in Ghana?
No, it has nothing to do with, again, the request to do second testing is done in the Netherlands, and it has nothing to do with Ghana, because if you come out of Kenya, if you come out of New York, if you come out of Singapore, you have to do the same double testing. It has nothing to do with Ghana. I hope that we have the vaccines. I hope the numbers are going down, and not only for air travel, but just for the Ghanaian population, for the Ghanaian people. I think that we will be back to normal in a year, or officially KLM internally we say we are back to normal pre-COVID times in 2025, but that is on a worldwide scale. What is happening here in Ghana, there is a large diaspora abroad, and people are traveling rapidly, quickly. At the moment they're allowed to travel, they will travel. Business travel will stay behind, but I think the VFR, the visit friends and relatives, that will pick up quickly, because people are longing to see each other, are longing to visit and meet each other. So I think at the moment that the COVID is under control, as well in Europe or worldwide, as well in Ghana, I think business will be back to business.
You're still watching The Marketplace. Now, on the 2nd of April this year, telecoms giant MTN Ghana rolled out its new directive. That's No ID, No Momo directive, as part of plans to reduce fraud associated with mobile money transactions. Now, the new directive, however, was met with some challenges. My colleague Nicholas Brown has been engaging some mobile money vendors, and take a listen to what he got.
Yeah, for now, I don't think there is any challenges. It was the beginning that was like, I've forgotten my IDs. Hey, since when? But now, it's not more there like it used to be. But what I still suggest is MTN people should create maybe something like an app, so that even if the merchant key in a wrong number, or if someone gives a wrong ID, you should know that it will reject it. Just like the way if you key in password it will tell you if it's wrong, it will tell you wrong ID or wrong password, so that it will help the merchants, because it's very, very hurting that sometimes someone can give you a wrong number or a wrong ID, and then you key in, the person won't have any problem, but you, the merchant, will rather have a problem. It's very, very painful. Very, very painful. Some of the clients, they are difficult. When you say this, they will say that. So MTN people should still try their best. This only cash out ID, at least, though it's good, we can't say it's not good, it's good, it's helping. That at least they should advance it more.
The challenges is persisting. Why? Because some customers are refusing to do the right thing. What is happening is when they come, instead of them to produce their ID physically or on the phone, they will just tell you that they have the ID numbers in their head. They will mention it for you. You see, which is not right. Yes, at least we need to see it physically or a screenshot on the phone. Yes, I suggest that if something could be done, because you can't tell whether the ID number is mentioning is his own ID number or it's a right number or not. So I think something should be done. If maybe an update of the application should be done, especially when we enter the numbers, so that it will verify the name of the ID per se, so that at least we can confirm that we've got the exact numbers that we've entered. Moreover, what I've come to notice is most of them are still not having IDs pertaining to the numbers they are using. And some come that they registered with their sister's information ID, so that is the ID that they are having. They are having their sister's ID. I normally tell them that no, you can go and do a change of ownership into your name so that you can bring your own ID. See, the system accepts any number. Even if you do a mistake, the system will accept it. But when you enter, let's say a customer comes to me and I enter a wrong ID information, and the system picks it from my end. But when the same customer goes to another agent and the agent enter a right number, then the system will know that one of them didn't enter the right number. So when they do the verification themselves, they will know that I didn't do the right thing, and I'll be sanctioned for that, because MTN has trained us on how we should do the work for them.
Some concerns from mobile money agents there, the issue regarding the verification of ID cards. Let's now hear from the Chief Executive of MTN Ghana, Solomon Dadeva, who says his outfit is working closely with agents to address these issues. According to him, there is an ongoing sensitization program to equip the agents with the necessary tools to carry out this new directive.
Beyond just the basic IDs, security is a new area for us when we think about digital, not only for us as operators, but also for consumers to have the right level of awareness, the right levels of sophistication and education around how to manage security. Without the right ID systems in place, without the right infrastructure to track, security becomes an area where I'm afraid we wouldn't be adequate enough to forestall some of the impact of some of these specific areas that are prone when you think about the digital economy. So for us, our investments go beyond just the infrastructure, but also looking at things like security, education, so that once we do have the digital economy, we're operating in a safe and predictable environment. And that's quite important for us as a country. Part of ensuring we have a safe and secure environment is to ensure we have enforcement around ID rules. This new intervention is one of those, and we're very supportive and working with the Mobile Money Agents group to make sure that some of the issues that customers have experienced are resolved once we hear of them. So some of the issues you've highlighted are issues that we're aware of, and re-education of agents are ongoing. It's an ongoing process, as well as making sure that the systems we've put in place are applied adequately. So we want to encourage all our customers to bear with us, but also to understand the reasons why we're doing this. It's for your own safety as customers, and we look forward to ensuring we get through this journey together. Thank you.
You're still watching The Marketplace. Let's go for a short break. We'll be right back. Do stay. At this juncture of Marketplace, let's bring you tips on how to spend your money very wisely in our Money Lab.
On Money Lab today, we want to have a discussion on a very important topic, and that is whether it is possible to become financially independent by keeping an 8-to-5 job. In other words, being an employee. I'm sure we have all heard that in order to be a millionaire, you have to be a business owner. But the truth is that not all of us can be business owners. Majority of us find ourselves as employees. So what happens to us so far as our finances are concerned? There's nothing wrong with being an employee, but there's everything wrong with limiting yourself to being just an employee. In addition to being an employee, you can also be an investor by investing in various financial assets. You can also create multiple streams of income by owning businesses that can generate passive income for you. Whatever path you choose, the principles of personal finance still applies. Spend prudently and invest wisely. Please join us on the next edition of Money Lab as we continue our discussion on investments.
And I trust you took down some notes. That's how we end Marketplace. My name is Charles Aite. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. At this junction, let's cross over to Parliament, where the vetting of the Deputy Minister's nominees is ongoing.